Welcome to the Steve Olson Show. My name is Steve Olson. Five amazing things today, especially if you're thinking about buying or selling your home in the next year. I think the questions that came in today are going to be really good. You're going to love them a lot. If you have a question specifically about buying real estate, selling real estate, investing in real estate, or renting real estate, then go to steveolsongroup.com/ask. I will put the link in the description below. You can put your question there and I will answer it live on this show and then send you the video of our answer once we've recorded it. We're 2 episodes into this for the new year and we have a backlog of about 91 questions. So submit your questions. There's some duplicates in there, but all of these are amazing questions. We're going to go, without further ado, right into it. Question number one. Let's get into it. It comes from Jessica from right here in Newport Beach. What is the difference between being pre-qualified and pre-approved? They're kind of similar, not entirely. When you submit an offer to purchase a home, whether it's in Newport Beach or any other area in Orange County, you are required. I shouldn't say you're required. You can do it without, but if there's multiple offers, you're going to get kind of kicked out. But you need to give what's called a pre-approval. The difference between a pre-qualification letter and a pre-approval letter is a pre-qualification can be done in as simple as you having a conversation with a lender and having the lender do a soft pull with your credit so they can get your credit score, get some of the initial job stuff out of the way, make sure you're above the FICO requirements. You're going to verbally tell him or her your income, and then you're going to verbally tell him or her your debt. And based on some preliminary findings, they say, yeah, you know what? You're probably pre-qualified for a loan based on everything that you've told me, and you're well within the constraints of this type of mortgage program. So totally cool. We'll give you a pre-qualified letter. Pre-approved means they've formally gone through all of the details and they've literally given you a pre-approval based on the findings that they found on job, on income, on the credit report, on the debt. Because keep in mind, they're going to take your debt load off of your credit report. So if you have a debt load and it's not on your credit report, they're not going to count that. That can be a good thing and it can be a bad thing. So Jessica, if you're asking from a perspective of negotiating an offer, then you want a pre-approval. If you're just starting the process, we have many clients that are like this right now and throughout many times of the year, and maybe they're not ready to fully write the offer, or they're not ready to go on contract, or maybe they're starting the viewing process like 4 or 5 months before they want to move, because maybe what they're looking for is unique and they don't know if they're going to find it really quick in the market. You still want to go get pre-qualified because real estate never happens based on the plan. It never happens on the right time frame. It always happens when that random home at that random price in the random neighborhood pops up and you're like, oh, this is my home. I need to go get this home. At that point, we don't want to be operating blind. We want to know exactly what we can get for that loan, and you want to make sure that you're fully covered under that. So getting pre-qualified up front, most of the time, the lender should be able to tell you this, most of the time will not involve what's called a hard pull on your credit, which means it won't affect your score in any way to get pre-qualified. Getting pre-approved is the formal process of going through all of the steps to actually get an approval letter that says, hey, based on everything that we've researched, they are pre-approved for this loan. And I feel confident that if they write an offer within the confines of this pre-approval, we're going to get this closed. So think of one as like preliminary and the other one is kind of like official, right? You want to be, when you're ready to write the offer, when you're in that last 10% of the time and you're out there and you're shopping and you're literally shopping to buy the home that weekend, you're going to want that pre-approval before you write the offer. Trust me when I tell you, do not go out there and look at homes and write an offer first and then go get pre-approved. It's going to add unnecessary stress to the platform, or unnecessary stress to the platform, unnecessary stress to the process of buying the home. And I've seen countless deals for literally no reason get lost because they do things a little out of order. So pre-qualify up front, start looking around the market. Then when things get a little serious, then get pre-approved, then write the offer, then negotiate, then close. It should be done in that order. If I were, we'll probably do another episode about this soon, but if I was to tell you like one of the number one issues that people fall trapped to when buying a home is that they miss time when they need to get pre-approved. There's some like kind of we talk to clients on the phone all the time and we'll hear from time to time, oh, don't worry, I have an 800 FICO, like I don't need to do that, that's not for me. And that may be true. You may have an 800 FICO. You may make $350,000 a year. You may have a ton of money in the bank for reserves. All of that may be true. But I've seen people that are well qualified that have amazing FICO scores have the tiniest things. I have one client that we're going back over, I don't know, maybe 12, 13 years ago. She was a relocation. She was a C-level executive for a very big company in Phoenix, Arizona. And we looked at a couple homes. Didn't really find anything she liked and said, hey, I'm not going to get pre-approved until we really get serious about this. But so far, I just haven't really seen anything. Okay. So I go back to the drawing board, find a bunch of other homes next weekend to go look at. The first home we see, her and her husband, they fall in love with it. And she goes, this is amazing. This is exactly what we're looking for. It's right by the office. Like it's perfect. Let's go. We don't even need to negotiate. Just give them list price. And I said, okay, did you call Chase yet? That was their bank. And she goes, no, I'll do it right now. Let's write the offer. So I told her, we can't really do that. We shouldn't do that. It's going to be tough to negotiate. And she goes, it's fine, because there was already another offer on the property. So we wrote a better offer than the other one. Of course, the listing agent calls back and says, hey, I don't have a pre-approval letter. How do I know that your buyer can buy the home? I said, don't worry. I'll give you the lender's info. You can call the lender. He just hasn't gotten it done yet. It should be done today. So the listing agent calls the lender. The lender says, yeah, I can't issue the pre-approval yet. And she goes, well, why not? He goes, well, I can't tell you. But we need one thing before we can issue the pre-approval. So the listing agent calls me back and says, hey, we can't counter the offer. There's no pre-approval. So I call the client and I say, hey, what's going on? She goes, there's this corporate piece of debt that is on my credit that is like keeping us from tier 1 to tier 2 credit, for lack of better terms. And she goes, I don't want, the lower rate, or I don't want the higher rate. So I want that off. So we got to get that taken care of before he's going to issue the pre-approval. And I said, well, we've got like 2 hours to get this done. She goes, well, sorry, nothing I can do. Well, fast forward, we did get it fixed. It took 4 days. We got everything fixed. She got the pre-approval. Everything was good. And she lost the home. And that right now, she did find her dream home moving forward. Just to be totally transparent, we found another one that was awesome. But every single home that she looked at after that, the first thing out of her mouth was, this is nice, but it's not like the other one. This is nice, but it doesn't have what that one had. This is a great pool, but the other pool was better. And it turned what should have been a very joyous occasion, very joyous journey in buying a home into something that was very frustrating. And in my opinion, from me to you, my suggestion to you is it didn't need to be that way. Literally, like if we just would have made that call to the lender 4 days before she found that home, they'd be in that home today and it would have been an amazing experience. And it probably still was an amazing experience. They love their home. Here we are now, 12, 13 years later. They're still in that home. They haven't moved. And so they do like the home. So you could argue that maybe everything happens for a reason. But my good friend Sharon Srivatsa always says good process drives good results. And in real estate, it's really the same thing. So my suggestion to you, I think it was, let's go look at, was it Jessica? Yeah, Jessica from Newport Beach. If you're serious about buying a home, then 100%, I would go get pre-approved right now. That way you don't have to worry about all the other issues. Carlos from San Clemente, California. One of the best pizza ports in all of Carlsbad, or all of California, is in San Clemente. How can I figure out my home value before I speak to an agent? Is the question. Carlos, if you're trying to figure out what your home's worth, there's really a bunch of things that you can do. Number one, do the research and find out what are the last most recent comps that sold in your neighborhood that were really close to yours in quality, size, or square footage, lot size, and were they remodeled? Were they not? Is your home remodeled? Is it not? Do a little bit of an average, and then that'll give you a rough idea of what your home is worth. Of course, there's numbers on, Trulia and Realtor.com and Redfin and Zillow, and those are algorithm-based numbers that could put you in the ballpark of what that home is potentially worth right now. But Carlos, if it's okay with you, I want to let you in on a little secret. I like something that I think you need to know. We talk to all of our clients about this all the time. Pricing a home, I'm assuming, Carlos, you want to, the price for your home for really one of a couple reasons. One of 3 reasons. Number one, you're just curious. You want to make sure you made a good investment. That would be one reason you want to know. The second reason you might want to know is that maybe you're considering a refinance and you want to see where your limits are in that refinance. The third thing that you may want to know is that you may be considering selling the home and you're trying to gauge if now is the right time based on what that home is worth. Okay. So now that we've established that, if you're just curious what it is, look at the comp structure or just go look at Zillow and that'll give you an estimated plus or minus, I would say 6%. And I know that's a big swing. However, what Zillow doesn't know is it doesn't know buyer demand. It doesn't know, the emotional pulls of real estate, because there are certain homes in a neighborhood that are going to have a much bigger emotional pull than other homes are. And people statistically are going to pay more for that. In those cases, Zillow only knows about that after the fact. It doesn't know, like, it knows nothing about your home until it knows everything about your home once it's been marketed, photos, and all of that stuff, right? So that's why the swing can be, 6% plus or minus. Not a bad thing. And, a lot of people hate on Zillow. I'm personally not a big fan of Zillow. We don't pay Zillow any money, and Zillow is what Zillow is, and they do the best job they can when it's based on an algorithm. And I think as long as you look at it from that perspective, I think that's okay. Um, but here's the secret that I was going to let you in on, Carlos from San Clemente. When you list your home for sale, if you want to list your home for sale, the secret to pricing is not to price it at what it's worth. I'll give that to you again. The secret to pricing your home to sell is not to list what it's worth. That is a mistake, especially in a 2026 market. There are three ways to price a home. I'll give them to you right now. There's aspirational, there's market-based, and there's event-based. And I'll explain those really quick. Aspirational means you have like one-of-a-kind property, and people in the market are just foaming at the mouth to get it. I don't mean unique, right? Because unique oftentimes does not mean valuable. Unique means unique, does not mean valuable. I'm talking about you have the most desirable piece of real estate, and everybody around you tells you, man, when that thing gets listed, it is going to sell for multiple offers right away. If you own that piece of real estate, it's okay to sell or list with an aspirational price, meaning we are going in what we perceive to be over market value. Market-based pricing is exactly what it is. We're going to try to price the property exactly what we think it's worth. We're going to identify one buyer, hoping that they pay that price. We want to do this to kind of shorten the time frame of selling the home. We want to make this super easy. This typically works in a neighborhood where a lot of the models, like maybe you're in a master plan community and there's only like 6 models in that community, and your model is number 3, and the last 4 have all sold for like $1.6 million, and yours is going to sell for $1.6 million. In that scenario, I would do market-based pricing, maybe plus a point, so we can list the home, do all the marketing, get the price that we want, and move on. Event-based pricing, when done right, within a real estate agent that has a lot of experience and understands how this works, is when you market the property like crazy for a specific amount of time. We have something called our 4-day launch. This is how we list most of our properties. And you do a whole bunch of marketing a week advance. You do 3 days of showings, and then you negotiate multiple offers at the end of the showings. In order for this to work, you've got to be really, really good at marketing. You've got to have a desirable property, and you need to use the event-based pricing structure, which means we list under perceived market value, hoping that we get, or working to get, multiple offers so we can drive that price above market value. People will always pay more when these 3 things meet. I would write this down if you're taking notes and you're thinking about selling your home. People will pay more when they believe something is scarce, valuable, and when other people want it. I'll give that to you again. They want something. They will pay more when something is scarce, meaning there's not a lot of it around. It is valuable, meaning it's turnkey. It's really nice. Maybe it's a really good deal, or it's the nicest home or the best view. There's got to be some element of it that makes it very valuable. And they have to have some level of perception that somebody else wants it as well. Right? People will always pay more when you can meet those 3. When you use event-based pricing the right way, with the right marketing and the right social ads and the timing and the blitz and everything that we do to sell real estate, most of the time it will break a record. So if you're talking with a real estate agent, Carlos, I wouldn't ask the agent. This is a big mistake most people make. I would not ask the agent, "Hey, what do you think my home is worth?" And you can ask that question, but I wouldn't. Whatever that number is, don't be emotionally attached to that number. Their opinion is no more accurate than your opinion. The only opinion that matters is the final sales price when you elect to sell that home. That's the only one that matters. Everything else is literally just an educated guess, right? So if you're going to ask your real estate agent, "Hey, what do you think my home is worth?" It's okay to ask that, but asking that question with this follow-up question, "And at what price would you list my home for to sell it for the most amount of money?" That's the more important question, because pricing when selling your home is nothing more than a marketing tool. Pricing is not a valuation when you sell your home. It is nothing more than a marketing tool. So, Carlos, that was probably a pretty deep answer for a very simple question, but hey, I gave you the keys to the kingdom. Use those. Talk to your real estate agent. If you're thinking about selling, you should call us. We'll crush it for you. But that's the 3 ways to price your home, even in a 2026 market. Little brain fart right there. Let me know if you have any questions, and reach out. Use the link in the description below. Thanks, Carlos. Nate from Carlsbad, California. Nate, I won't out your last name. Nate and I know each other personally. Thank you so much for submitting this question. Nate is actually a client of ours who's about ready to buy a home and just probably felt inclined to ask the question. What are the most common mistakes a buyer makes when buying a home? Actually, there's a couple. I've been licensed since February of 2007, so almost 20 years coming up, be 19 years. Actually, in a few weeks. Yeah, about a month from now, it'll be 19 years. That's crazy. Of all the buyer deals that I fall apart, or that I've seen fall apart, there's a couple reasons that it happens. Number one, and I talked about this earlier in today's episode. If you're watching a highlight, there's another clip that we made in today's episode about the wrong time to get pre-qualified, all of that fun stuff. So the first thing would be is not taking pre-qualification and pre-approval serious and not getting all the documents to your lender on time. I've seen way too many deals fall apart because of timing alone. Meaning the lender needs these 9 documents, they don't get them in time, and so they call the listing agent and say, "Hey, I know we've got the contingency that's supposed to get removed on Monday. I'm short a lot of documents. I'm just going to tell you right now, we're not going to have them in time." And the listing agent, in the meantime, especially these last 5 or 6 years, they've got 3 other offers waiting, and the listing agent sends a cure notice that the pre-approval doesn't come or the final qualification doesn't come. The deal falls apart. Absolutely no reason that should happen. There's absolutely no reason that should happen, right? So you should say, hey, the most important person in this transaction, or the 2 most important people, are my real estate agent and my lender, and whatever they tell me to do, I need to do very, very fast. The faster that you move, the more success you'll have. The second thing that I would write down is that not to get emotionally connected, emotionally attached with your inspection report. It's really important to understand, especially in California, unless you are buying a brand new home, you are not buying a brand new home. There are going to be issues with every single home out there. We want to write the offer, and keep in mind, in California especially, the contract is an as-is contract, meaning you are agreeing to buy the property in as-is condition unless stated otherwise. It's really important to understand this because when you go through your inspection and there's 91 things wrong for the home, I've seen people write a list of 91 things and say, "Hey, we'll buy the home, but you got to fix these 91 things." It doesn't work that way, right? The reason why we're doing a home inspection is to determine, based on the visual representation we have of the property when we did the viewing and when we wrote the offer, that the home inspection is relatively in line with our inspections with the property. Now, obviously, we can't see that the water heater failed. We can't see that the HVAC system is no good. We can't see that there's cracks in the truss up above, or there's roof issues, or maybe there's foundation issues. Sure, there may be like hints in the property that we can see with that, but that's what a home inspection is for. Major things that are structural, that would be material, that may impact the value of the home or change your opinion as to what price you want to pay for that home, then we can negotiate that. It's different in every state. In California, you can do one of 2 things as a buyer. You can say, "Hey, I want you to repair all these," or in lieu of all these repairs, if you can't fix them, we will accept a credit in lieu. You can't just say, "Hey, we got a home inspection. It sucks, and we want you to lower the price $35,000 or we're going to cancel." I mean, you can do that, but that's not the right way to do it. You should say, "Here's what's wrong. I'll give you an opportunity to fix it. If you can't or you don't want to fix it, we will happily accept a credit in lieu." That's one way to do it. If you give it to the seller or the homeowner has 3 options. Number 1, they can say, "Cool, okay, we'll do that," meaning yes. Number 2, they can say, "We'll do some of it. We're not going to do all of it," right? And number 3, they're going to say, "Nah, it's an as-is contract. It is what it is. Sorry, take it or leave it," right? If they do anything other than what you ask, if they do anything other than what you ask. So if you say fix these 3 things and they agree to fix 2, that's something other than what you asked. If they do agree to anything other than what you ask, you as the buyer, and 99% of the time, can cancel the contract when that happens and get your earnest money back. I've seen way too many deals, Nate, and Nate, I won't, I'll make sure you don't go through this. Nate, I've seen way too many times where people get very emotional about the inspection report. They get charged up, and pretty soon both sides are angry at something that is just a very basic, common problem. Like in Southern California, like you either have termites or you're going to get termites. There is no escaping termites on a sand bed. It is what it is. So if the home has termites, it has termites. We get it taken care of. It gets tented. We get rid of the termites. Everybody moves on. Nobody should be worried about termite damage unless it's like it's been, like not dealt with for 20 years and like a wall's going to get, fall over or whatever. Like I get that, right? But termites are just termites. You know what I mean? So don't get emotional with the home inspection process. Make sure all your docs are timely with your lender. Make sure you manage the pre-approval. Here's the last thing that I would say. Understanding that you don't need to see every single home on the market. I'd make a list of 2 types of things that you need. Number one, these are my absolute must-haves, and I refuse to see a home that doesn't at least have my must-haves. And then the second list would be all my must-haves, and these would be cool but not required. And I would only look at homes that specifically made that criteria. The reason why I'm suggesting to do this is really simple. Oftentimes, when you see a bunch of homes in a day, let's say you see 4 to 7 homes in one day, because there's so many different like things that you see, you start to blend homes together. Like you're like, I like that kitchen with the Calcutta marble and that pool and the primary that was downstairs looking south, and you're like, hold on, that's like 3 different homes you described. That wasn't one home, right? It's fun to see a lot of real estate, but oftentimes when we look at homes that we know are not going to be a fit because we need that for comparison, all it does is muddy the water and it stresses you out, right? We want to remove stress. So although it can feel very enticing to go see everything under the sun to make sure you're making the right decision, which I totally understand with, the most successful clients that I've ever worked with since being licensed in real estate February of 2007 have made the commitment to only look at what fits their needs and nothing else because it just pollutes the water. Hope that helps, Nate. Any questions? Actually, I'll see you later on this week. You can ask me then. Lauren from Oceanside, California. Does staging, Lauren, I know this is going to be a great question because when I'm recording this video, it's 11:11 in the morning. So that's your good luck number. So Lauren from Oceanside, California. Does staging really matter when selling my home or is it just hype? It depends on how you look at it, Lauren. My personal opinion, being licensed for almost 20 years, I would tell you that staging 100% does matter. It is expensive. It can be anywhere from $2,500 to upwards of $50,000, depending on how big the home is and what you want to do. And, does there need to be painting and all of that stuff? Because staging is really, if you really think about what staging is, all staging is the removal of everything that represents you as the homeowner and then replacing it, allowing people to envision how they would live there. If you've ever gone to a new build model home and you walk in and you're just like, holy smokes, like this home is way nicer than the neighborhood needs to be. The new home builders, like they do this on purpose because they want you to see what's possible for the people that go, the full distance. And number two, what it really does is it allows you to walk through that home and it allows you to envision exactly how the home should be lived in. Right? Like when you walk into an office, it's designed to be an office. When you walk into the kitchen, it's designed on how 5 people can eat at a kitchen. When you see the front room, the TV's in the perfect spot, the couches are laid out, the furniture is the correct size, the lighting is correct, like everything is exactly how it should be. It's not because they want you to pay more for a home, although there probably is some psychology around that the nicer the model homes are, maybe the more you pay with that. Like I would probably I could see where that would be. But at the end of the day, what they don't want you to do is they don't want you to envision how somebody else would live there. So let's talk about what I would take out of the home. If you have a photo wall, I'd take it out. Like it or love it or hate it, however you want to say it, people judge. And if they're spending all their time looking at your photo wall and your family history of where you've traveled, they're spending less time envisioning the home and you're making it harder for them to get excited to buy the home. So I take down the photo walls. I take down anything that was specific. I would neutralize the home with paint. I'd paint all the trim. I would get the highest quality stuff in there that allows somebody to say, wow, if we buy this home, this is how I envision this working. If you do that right, you're going to see that your home's going to sell a lot quicker. And normally what we see is the money invested in staging, although you really are never going to find this out because you can only connect the dots backwards. But if I had to put an ROI on staging, I'd probably say 2 to 3 times whatever you're going to pay. So if you're paying, $5,000 with staging, it's probably going to show up as a $15,000 ROI at closing. You need to be prepared to do this. So if you don't call a realtor on Tuesday expecting to get the home on Friday, and that's just not enough time, it needs to be well thought out for that. But yeah, 100% I would stage. I don't think it's hype. Sometimes staging is like take everything out, completely move out, start with a vacant home, repaint, stage the whole thing. Sometimes it's like, hey, it's only going to be $1,000. We're going to take these 3 things out. I'm going to bring some accessories. We're going to rearrange the furniture and we're pretty much ready to go. The only purpose of staging, I'll tell you that again. Number one is to allow the property to be viewed at its highest best use. And number two, to get the client or the potential buyer to envision how they would live there, not for them to judge how you live there. That's the purpose of staging. Lauren, I hope this helps. Any questions? Use the link in the description. And we're happy to step in. Amanda from Encinitas, California. How do I know if I'm financially ready to buy a home before I talk to a lender? It's probably pretty simple. If you want specific things, I think most lenders will pre-qualify or approve somewhere between 35 and maybe upwards of 45% of your gross income. However, if you are spending that much of your money on a house payment, and listen, I know Southern California, I know it's tough, so I say this a little bit tongue in cheek or a little bit with some expectations that I know are maybe not honorable. If you are spending that much on your home, it's going to be tough, right? So I would never recommend doing that. I would want to shoot for 25 to 35, 25 to 30% of the joint income, assuming you're married. If you're not married, obviously it's just on your income. That would be like a healthy number in Southern California. I would have in regards to your monthly payment. Uh, you should be able to pay it out of one paycheck if possible. If you're depending on two paychecks to pay that, again, it gets really stressful because you know what happens with paychecks. I'm assuming you work for a great company, but sometimes they're off. Sometimes there's, changes, and if it's every single paycheck we're relying on to get that mortgage paid, it can be very stressful. I don't want that for you. I would love to see you have 6 months of reserves in the bank. Of your entire income, not just the mortgage payment. So if your cost of living, including the mortgage every month, is 12,000 bucks, then 12,000 times six, which I think would be like $72,000, somewhere 74 4, something like that. If you have that in the bank and you know that no matter what happens, I'm good for like 6 months. I'm going like a little Dave Ramsey on you right now. Then I think it's really okay. And the last thing that I would say, Amanda, is the down payment. Now, depending on the price of the home that you're buying in Encinitas, if it's an FHA home, you only need 3.5 to 5% to put down. If you qualify for VA, you could get in with no money down based on the purchase price of the home. There's some limits to FHA, like it's a million something in Encinitas. I don't know what the exact amount is, which doesn't give you a lot of options, right? So down payment could be small. If you don't qualify for FHA, or maybe you don't have a VA certificate because you weren't in the military, then conventional can be anywhere from 5, 10, 15, 20, and above down, percentage down. Most people think the most common down payment is 20%, but there are actually a lot of really good loan programs at 5 and 10% down if you qualify. You're going to have a much higher FICO. It's going to have to be in a growth market. Like, there are a lot of rules that come with that, but as long as it's in a good market and you're really strong financially, 5 and 10% could be a reality. It would be great if you could put that money down and not feel it, right? And what I mean by not feeling, I can't tell you how many times we've sold a home where that down payment and the closing costs and everything that's due at closing, like, it wipes the clients clean. And let me tell you, that is a very stressful, I can't say very bad way. It adds a lot of unnecessary stress to home ownership because nobody wants to go into a home like at zero. That would be very stressful. So I would look for a couple things. Probably three things now that I'm saying it. Number one, at least the mortgage payment should be no more than a third of your income. That would be rule number one. Number two, I'd want to have a down payment ready to when I spent that down payment. I wasn't stressed out. It didn't bring me to zero. That would be really important. And number three, I'd have 6 months of cost of living put away. It doesn't have to be liquid. Could be in a Vanguard fund. Could be in a CD. Could be somewhere that if you had to do it, you could pull it out. Maybe there's going to be some tax, repercussions or something like that. Could be in a savings account. I wouldn't have it in cash under the bed, right? But it could be in an investment vehicle. But I'd want 6 months of reserves somewhere to where if something were to happen, you're covered for a specific amount of time. It doesn't happen a lot. But if I told you how many times we've sold a home and within 90 days somebody lost their job, it would blow your mind. And Amanda, I'm not saying you're going to lose your job, so don't read into this. But I've worked with so many clients, and I get a call months later, and they're going to say, "You're never going to believe it. I either got a promotion, I've got to move, I lost my job, my position got downsized. Like, some big life event happened right on the backs." Because this is how life works. You guys have figured this out if you've been alive long enough. Like, life tends to do this to us. Something happens right when that happens, and it gets really stressful. There's no reason for this to be that stressful. So I want to make sure you have 6 months of savings. No more than a third of your income should be uh, given or allotted allotted towards the mortgage payment. And I would make sure that the down payment you should be able to pay that and really not feel it. Like, you don't need to be like a multimillionaire to put the money down, but I'm saying, like, if the down payment scares you and that brings you down to zero, may not be the right time to buy a home. If you buy a home in a great area and you buy a home with the intention of staying 7, 10 years, it almost doesn't matter where you buy, almost. Not always. It almost doesn't matter where you buy. You're going to be financially fine. It's the people that buy that can barely afford it, that maybe are staying somewhere for a year or two that need to get out quick. Those are the ones where home ownership is kind of challenging. So we don't want to do it that way either, if that makes sense. So, Amanda, I hope that makes sense. If you have any questions, let me know down in the comments. We're happy to help. And you're just south of us, right? So if you have any questions, let me know. And I'm happy to jump on a call. All right. I love you all. That is the end for episode number 2, Tuesday, January 6th. Have an amazing Tuesday. I'll see you guys tomorrow.